Welcome to channel. Fairy World. In the beautiful city of Verona, two noble families, the Montagues and the Capulets, were sworn enemies. Their hatred had lasted for generations, and the streets often echoed with their quarrels. The Prince of Verona had forbidden fighting, yet the rivalry was impossible to control. Among the Montagues was young Romeo, a dreamy soul who longed for love more than war. On the Capulet side was Juliet, a gentle and intelligent girl whose heart was yet untouched by passion. Their family's hatred would soon clash with the destiny of their love, setting the stage for a tale of romance and tragedy that the world would never forget. Romeo wandered aimlessly, lost in thoughts of unreturned affection. His friends noticed his sadness but couldn't cheer him up. He believed love was cruel, for his heart longed for a woman who did not care for him. His cousin Benvolio urged him to forget and find joy elsewhere. There are other beauties in Verona, he advised. Romeo, though doubtful, listened to his cousin's counsel. Little did he know that fate was about to lead him to the Capulet household, where his life would change forever. In his melancholy, Romeo could not imagine the storm of love that awaited him. The Capulets prepared a grand feast, with music, laughter, and candle-lit halls. Lords and ladies in bright gowns danced merrily, unaware that their enemies had slipped in. Romeo, masked and uncertain, entered with his friends. The music swirled, and his eyes wandered the hall. Suddenly, he saw her, Juliet. Her presence shone brighter than all the candles in the chamber. For Romeo, time froze. He forgot his sadness, his disguise, and even the world itself. One glance at Juliet's face was enough to awaken a love that would defy family, fate, and even death. Romeo's heart led him to Juliet. Their eyes met, and they spoke in whispers, their words like poetry. He compared her hand to a holy shrine, asking permission to kiss it. Juliet, shy yet bold, answered with wit. Their playful exchange quickly deepened into enchantment. Romeo pressed his lips to her hand, and the world seemed to vanish. Neither knew the other's name, but already their souls had recognized one another. In the midst of music and laughter, two hearts had discovered their destiny. Yet danger lingered, for Tybalt, Juliet's fiery cousin, had noticed Romeo's presence. Later that night, Romeo, unable to leave, hid in the Capulet garden. He gazed up at Juliet's balcony, where she appeared. Bathed in moonlight, she spoke her thoughts aloud, confessing her love for Romeo despite his Montague name. Romeo, overcome, stepped from the shadows and declared his devotion, their words intertwined like music. Promises whispered under the stars. They vowed to love each other no matter the cost. It was pure, reckless, and eternal. With the night as their witness, Romeo and Juliet's love story had begun, sealed by a secret kiss in the silence of the garden. The next morning, Romeo rushed to Friar Lawrence, a wise priest and healer, to share his joy. He begged the friar to unite him with Juliet in marriage. At first, Lawrence hesitated, fearing the feud would doom their love. Yet he also saw hope, that this bond might end the hatred between the families. At last he agreed, though with caution. Romeo's heart soared as he prepared for the secret wedding. Meanwhile, Juliet sent her nurse to carry messages, eager for the moment she would be bound to Romeo forever, no matter the risks that waited ahead. In the quiet of the friar's cell, Romeo and Juliet stood hand in hand. No music, no guests, no celebrations, only their vows spoken softly, eyes shining with love. Friar Lawrence blessed them, praying that heaven would guard their union. They kissed, sealing their promise of eternal loyalty. For a moment, joy conquered all fears. They were no longer Montague and Capulet, but husband and wife. Yet even as love triumphed in secret, the shadow of violence crept closer, waiting to tear apart what their hearts had so bravely created. Tybalt, furious at Romeo's intrusion into the Capulet feast, sought revenge. He confronted Romeo in the streets, demanding a duel. But Romeo, now secretly Tybalt's kinsman through Juliet, refused to fight. His refusal enraged Tybalt further. Mercutio, Romeo's fiery friend, mocked Tybalt and drew his sword. The clash was fierce, steel flashing under the hot Verona sun. Romeo tried to stop them, but fate was cruel. Tybalt struck Mercutio a mortal blow. With his dying breath, Mercutio cursed both houses, declaring, "A plague on both your houses." Grief and rage overtook Romeo's soul. Blinded by sorrow, Romeo turned on Tybalt. His love for peace vanished in a storm of fury. The clash was swift and brutal, and soon Tybalt lay lifeless on the stones. Silence fell across Verona as blood stained the street. Romeo realized too late what he had done. He had slain Juliet's cousin, his own wife's kin. When the prince arrived, justice was harsh. Romeo was banished from Verona forever. His heart broke, for exile meant being torn from Juliet. Love and despair collided, and Romeo cried out against the cruelty of fate. Before leaving Verona, Romeo stole into Juliet's chamber. Their tears mingled with kisses as they clung to each other, knowing it might be their last embrace. Dawn crept slowly, cruelly pulling them apart. Juliet's heart ached as she watched him descend from her balcony, each step taking him farther from her world. "It is the lark, not the nightingale," Romeo whispered. Dreading the day, they promised to find a way back to each other, no matter the distance. Their love was unshaken, though fate had already prepared its next cruel turn. Juliet's joy turned to despair when her parents announced she must marry Count Paris. She begged them to delay, but Lord Capulet's anger was fierce, and her mother gave no comfort. Alone, Juliet sought the counsel of Friar Lawrence. She wept, declaring she would rather die than betray her love for Romeo. The friar, moved by her desperation, devised a daring plan. Juliet would drink a potion to feign death, and when her family placed her in the tomb, Romeo would come to take her away. Hope flickered in Juliet's heart, though fear lingered in her soul. That night, Juliet stood alone with the vial. Her hands trembled as she wondered, what if it killed her? What if she awoke among the dead? What if Romeo did not come? Fear gnawed at her, but love gave her courage. With a final prayer, she drank the potion and collapsed upon her bed, pale as if lifeless. When the nurse entered the next morning, she screamed in horror, believing Juliet had died. The Capulet house filled with wails, their joy of marriage turned into mourning. Yet Juliet slept on, bound to the dangerous plan. News of Juliet's death reached Romeo in Mantua, but not the truth. The letter from Friar Lawrence never reached him. Believing Juliet truly gone, Romeo's heart shattered. He bought a vial of deadly poison and rode to Verona in despair. By night, he entered the Capulet tomb where Juliet lay in eternal silence. Seeing her beauty untouched by death, he whispered words of love and grief. With tears streaming, he raised the poison to his lips, ready to join her in the darkness beyond life. Fate's cruel hand had closed around them both. Romeo drank the poison and kissed Juliet one last time. The potion burned through him, and he collapsed at her side. Just then, Juliet stirred, the potion spell breaking. She awoke to find Romeo dying. Horror filled her heart as she begged him to stay, but his last breath escaped, leaving her in silence. Juliet kissed his lips, hoping some, seized his dagger and pressed it into her heart. She fell beside him, united at last in death. Their love, too pure for the world, had found its final rest. The families, awakened by cries of grief, gathered at the tomb. They found their children lifeless, bound together in eternal embrace. The prince condemned the few that had driven them to this fate, declaring, "All are punished." Overcome with shame, Montague and Capulet clasped hands at last, vowing to end their hatred. Verona mourned the loss of Romeo and Juliet, whose love had triumphed even in death. Their story lived on, a lesson of passion, sacrifice, and the price of enmity. And so, the tale of the star-crossed lovers became eternal. Thanks for watching.